Yes, guys, what's going on? Welcome to the LG Fitness Podcast. I hope you enjoyed the intro music. So that was time well spent before recording this podcast. It's taken me half an hour, maybe longer, to firstly find like a sample music track that I wanted to put in, then edit it down and break it down into like an intro, outro. So stay tuned to the end of this podcast to listen to the outro music as well. But yeah, I got I wouldn't even call it criticism, some constructive feedback from one of my clients this morning who said, "Yeah, I've been listening to the podcast. It's really good. I've been really enjoying it. The only thing I'd say is add some intro music, add some outro music. Basically, just tart it up a little bit." So I've done that with the intro. I've done that with the outro. Like I said, stay tuned for the outro. I hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, today's podcast, I'm going to be talking a little bit about myself. It's a little bit self-indulgent, not going to lie. If you're not into that, if you don't want to know my training plan, what I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks, then obviously you can just not listen, or you could just listen to it on mute in just so I get the plays. That's up to you. You could do that if you want to. That'd be very nice of you. But essentially, what I'm going to be doing today is talking you through my training plan, what my goals are, how I'm going to sort of document it, how I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing, and essentially the process and the reasons behind why I'm training in the way that I'm training, why I'm doing certain things. So I'll give you a little bit of a breakdown and a bit of a insight into why I'm doing specific exercises, why I'm doing a specific amount of cardio, etc., etc., etc. So we're going to go into all of that. Like I said, I'm going to talk about my goal, why I'm doing it. I'm going to talk about how I'm going to document it, all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, hopefully it gives you a bit of insight into goal setting and how to essentially go about achieving a specific goal. Now, one thing I will say when it comes to goal setting, it is very important that you are specific with what you want. And the reason for that is because many goals will often contradict each other. Now, what I mean by this is there are some goals that, if that is what you really want, so for example, let's say fat loss is what you really want and you want to get really lean, then it's going to be wise to train in a specific way. It's going to be wise to do certain exercises, not because they're better for fat loss, but because they're going to help manage fatigue, they're going to help manage injury, and all of that comes into play. So hopefully, like I said, this gives you a little bit of an insight of to why I'm doing specific things, why I'm doing specific exercise. Because again, there's always a thought process when I'm writing a training program of why am I doing this exercise? What's the point of it? What's the goal of doing this exercise? Now, some of them, to be honest, are just for fun. Some of them are just for a little bit of vanity, stuff like that, which I'm going to get into. But again, like I said, if you've got a specific goal, it makes setting up a training plan a lot easier because then you can almost set it up. I use the word optimal. There's obviously an optimal range. Now, for most of you guys listening, training in the most optimal way is probably not realistic. It's probably not going to be the most fun way to do it. But if you can have a plan that is as close to optimal as you can make it without it sucking the fun out of training and all of that, then it's going to help you get to where you want to be in the best way. Now, a lot of people, I've worked with people in the past that have multiple different goals, right? But it's understanding that in order to achieve one goal, we may have to put one goal on hold. So, for example, if you're wanting to run a marathon and lose weight at the same time, are you going to be in the best position to run a marathon if you're trying to be in a calorie deficit at the same time? Probably not. In terms of your performance levels, when you're running, you're going to want plenty of food. A lot of people, when they do run marathons or train for marathons, they often gain weight or don't lose any weight because they're eating a lot more than what they usually would because their expenditure is a lot higher. That is necessary for the energy demands of what they're doing. So it's important to just be specific with your goals. Now, going into having goals, I'm going to talk about this on another podcast. Sorry, and we're going to talk about goal setting and stuff like that. But I think focus and having something to work towards is very, very important. I think it gives you clarity. I think it gives you something to focus on rather than just sort of going to the gym aimlessly or going for a run aimlessly, whatever it is. If you have something and if you have a target, whether it's 12 weeks away, 16 weeks away, whatever it is, it can help you focus your mind. It can keep that motivation high. And I say motivation will stay high. It's still going to fluctuate, but it will still give you that push to then go and do what needs to be done. So obviously I spoke a little bit about the podcast last week about why I'm sort of trying to get fitter. So my overall goal right now is to get fitter. There's no weight related goal. It's not a physique based goal that I'm looking for at the moment. It's not that I'm trying to lose weight. I'm not trying to add muscle. I'm not trying to get leaner. None of that. I'm just looking to improve my performance, improve my physical fitness. So that's my main goal. Now, in terms of how I'm going to go about it, I'm going to, well, my other goal. So there's the fitness goal. I obviously want to get fitter. Now, in order for me to understand whether or not I'm getting fitter, there's multiple things that I'm going to track, which I'll go into later on. But I also, my other goal or my main goal again, is being able to run a new 5K PB time. So that's one of the goals. Now, my current 5K personal best is 21 minutes 37, which I did back in 2021. So during the lockdown, I was running a lot. I think like everyone back at that time, I was just running a lot. So naturally, I got quite fit. Naturally, I became a lot better at running, and that is when when I ran 5K in 21:37, which is roughly around four 4 minute 20 per kilometer, I believe, which is fairly good going. Which is fairly good going. And you may have seen me speak on my stories recently about me not being a runner. Now, I'm not running for me is not really my thing, I suppose. It's not something I've ever been particularly good at. Certainly not longer distance anyway. Anything more than 100 meters is long distance for me. Like anything more than that, it was always a struggle for me. I remember at school, I was always put in like the 100-meter race. I'd always do that one. Like that one was the one that I'd do really well in. I was good at sprinting. Anything longer than that, I really, really struggled. Even like 200 meters, like I was not brilliant at. I certainly wasn't a good 100 at 200 meters as I was 100 meters. 400 meters was a no. I remember on sports day, I ran the 1500 meters once, and I don't know why I was put in to do the 1500 meters, but I was dead last, dead last. And I remember just coming in, and I remember being miles behind everyone, like so far behind everyone, and it's just never been my thing. And that 1500 meters is not long distance by any means, but I just remember just never being able to run that far or that quickly for a long enough period of time. And that's sort of why I want to get into this goal. And that's why I want to try and break the PB that I have. To get sub 20 would be incredible. It's something that I really tried to achieve back then, which I never did achieve. So to be able to do that would be amazing. But first and foremost, I'm going to look to break my 5K personal best, which is, like I said, 21:37, which is actually 4 minute 19 kilometers for 5 of them, obviously. So yeah, that's my current training goal. In terms of how I'm going about it, then I think this is important, right? Because again, if someone has a running goal, I would usually say, right, it's important that you run. It's important that you run, right? If you want to get better at running, then you've got to run. Now, for me, I obviously do a lot of running at football. So football, I have training once a week. I'll have a game as well once a week. Potentially, it might be 2 games, or it might be, yeah, like I said, it might be 2 games, no training, or 1 training, 1 game. So I'm getting a lot of running through football. So I'm doing a lot of running. There's a lot of impact. Now, It's another thing as well with running, especially if you're running on roads and stuff like that. It's a lot of impact. It's a lot of impacts going through your ankles, your knees, your hips. So it's important to manage the load. And it's also important that you stay strong as well. It's making sure that your ankles, your knees, and your hips are all strong. So, how do we get them strong? Is obviously in the gym, right? So, there's no point if you've got a running goal, it's still important to do strength training. It's still important to keep on top of those sorts of things because it's going to help you again strengthen the joints that you're going to be working, going to be using through running. So that's important. So I'm going to be doing 3 resistance training, 3 strength training sessions throughout the week, which I've been doing. So I'm on this is currently week 2 now of my training program. Now I have been doing an upper body, a lower body, and a full body. So on Sunday, I do lower body. Mondays, I do upper body. And then Thursdays, I do full body. So those are my strength training sessions. And then I do one run. So it's only one run a week. Like I said, I've been doing football twice a week on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So I'm getting a decent amount of running from football, and that's twice a week. So Wednesdays and Saturdays. Sorry. So Tuesdays is my one run. Now I'm going to build this up. This is really going to be the thing that I change. Um, Everything else is going to stay the same. So the run I've been doing not quite 5K, roughly around about 2 miles, 2.5 miles, which is just short of 5K. It's probably about 4K, something like that. So I've been doing that and I've been doing some interval work. So minute on at like 75, 80%, and then like a recovery run at like just a steady jog. It was a walk when I did it the Tuesday just gone. That was my first interval session. I'm going to build that up and then I'm going to add some sprints in there as well and just build that session up. Then outside of that, I'm also going to be doing, you may have seen some zone 2 cardio, which is your lower intensity cardio, which is not too taxing in terms of a central nervous system perspective. It's also not high impact. I've been doing it on the cross trainer. So zone 2 is just going to help you build like a good cardio base. So it's relatively low intensity. Like I said, when you're doing zone 2, you should be able to have a conversation with someone, but if you were to have a conversation with someone, they would know that you're doing something, if that makes sense. Like you wouldn't be panting, you wouldn't be out of breath, you wouldn't be like trying to speak like this. It would just be like every other sentence, you just sort of take a deep inhale, something like that. So you're looking, for me, I'm looking at getting my heart rate around the 130 mark, roughly around about there, and maintaining that for sort of half an hour. So I've been doing 90 minutes across the week, and I just do that after my strength training session. So Sunday, Monday, Thursday, I do lower body, upper body, full body, respectively, and then I do finish with 30 minutes of cardio after those, and that's those zone 2 cardio. So that's going to help me build my cardio base, which I've already seen some benefits from anyway. Then I'm going to use that run on Tuesday as the thing that I change and manipulate and look to progress. Now, obviously, in terms of the gym work, the strength work, I'm still going to be looking to progress that sort of stuff, still get stronger. That's obviously key. That's something that we can still go do. Like you can still get stronger and drop body fat. Like you still get stronger and train for a marathon. You can still get stronger and whatever it is that you're looking to do. It's not the case of getting stronger and another goal is off the cards. Potentially getting lean and getting stronger might contradict each other, but you can still get strong, sorry, while you're in a deficit. You can still get strong whilst you're looking to drop body fat. So you can still build strength. You can still look to progress your exercises. So that's important. Now, in terms of what I'm doing with my training, so my lower body session looks something like this. So I start off with a bit of core, and then I do some like hip flexion. So I'm looking to work my hip flexors again, just get those hips nice and strong. I do a cable hip adduction, again, just working around the hips, and then moving through to a lion leg curl. A heel elevated barbell squat, a barbell RDL, and a seated calf raise. So again, all of those exercises just looking to get my lower body strong, keep those joints strong, keep the muscle strong. Again, obviously hamstrings is going to be key for running, especially when you're running quickly. That's a potential to cause injury. Also just dealing with, like I said, the impact around the hips and the knees and the ankles. So the calf raiser is going to help strengthen around the ankle area. Same with like the lion leg curl, just strengthening the hamstrings, the knees, all of that sort of stuff. So that's what I'm doing with my lower body. In terms of my upper body, to be honest, my upper body is just doing really what I enjoy. I've added in a lot more arm work. Like I said, that's purely just vanity reasons. I just want to get my arms really strong. I've never really focused too much on my arms. I've just always done more of like your big lifts, like your bench press or your dumbbell bench press. Whereas at the minute, I've been dealing with a slightly injured shoulder for the last year, maybe, and I haven't pressed too heavy. So I haven't got too much pressing movements. I've got one or 3 sets of a dumbbell bench and 3 sets of a shoulder press. And that's really it for pressing movements. Other than that, it's just working around what I can, and just strengthening other areas with my upper body. Like I said, I'm not too focused on my upper body, but I'm just making sure I keep it strong. Again, that's just going to aid with football and stuff like that. In terms of the full body, so then I've got my full body. Again, it's just it's probably a little bit more lower body than it is upper body. It's pretty much looking through it. Again, I've got that hip flexion, which again is just strengthening the hip, strengthening that hip flexor. Bulgarian split squats, which are absolutely vile, but again, that's just going to help with again that hip flexor, again around the knee joint. As well as that, it's obviously single leg, so again you're using that balance in, which is going to help in terms of like a bit of proprioception on your ankle. So that'll strengthen that as well. Seated leg curls in there, leg extensions in there, as well as that shoulder press, and then a bit more arms as well on that one. So yeah, mainly the main goal really with the strength training work is to make sure that my lower body is nice and strong to be able to deal with the impact of running, even though obviously I'm only running once a week. But again, I'm playing football as well. So it's again making sure that I'm strong for football, strong for the running that is involved in football, strong for the running that is involved outside of the football that I'm going to be doing. So making sure that I'm not picking up any injuries with lower body. I don't want any pulled hamstrings or groins or anything like that. I want to make sure that with my strength training, that my lower body is nice and strong to be able to deal with, obviously, like I said, the impact of progressing this program and to be able to run a PB 5K. So I hope that sort of makes sense in terms of what I'm doing with my strength training. Like I said, I've added in the cardio side of things. I'm doing this just on the cross trainer. Like I said, 30 minutes after each lot of strength training. This is just because it's low impact. And again, I can just get a decent bit of cardio in from there, which is only going to help with running. Normally, like I said, you'd probably want to run if you want to get better at running, but I'm running already when playing football. So adding in one extra run, which is obviously going to be the thing that I change most, is the thing that I'm going to test with. I'm also going to be doing a 5-kilometer run. I double check. It's either this week or next week. Sorry, next week or the week after. So that's going to be like I'm a test run, see how far away I am from that PB, and then it will be a good estimation for when I'm going to get there potentially. So yeah, I'm going to use the podcast to give you like a weekly update. So I will update you weekly on how it's going, how my training is going. I will obviously be doing it more so daily on my Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, it's at Lewis Graham Coaching, and I'm going to be giving you more updates on there. I like having that accountability from Instagram, and obviously now this podcast as well. Having that accountability is so important, and it's one thing that I think a lot of people maybe don't rate highly enough, having accountability, because I think the problem for a lot of people is not knowing what they need to do. It's actually doing it. And when you're accountable to someone, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a coach, if you want it to be, then drop me a message. I can help you out with that. But it could be a friend. If you go to the gym with a friend, then you're more likely to go. But like we've all been there when your friend bails on the gym and then you don't go as well. Again, it's that accountability of, right, they're there, I better go. Or again, just having someone that you're accountable to, having something that you're accountable to, just makes things so much easier to get done, even when you don't want to, because that's really the key. A lot of people just don't do the things that they know that they should do, even if they know, they don't do it because they're either not motivated to do it or because they just don't have anyone accountable, or anyone holding them accountable. So yeah, that is a big thing for me, is having that accountability. So again, posting it on Instagram, posting it, telling you guys about it on the podcast, and then showing it as well is really important. I've done this many times in the past. I think last year I did 8-week fat loss. It wasn't really a challenge, just an 8-week cut, which I documented on my Instagram. Dropped 5 kilos in 8 weeks, showed you guys how to do it. And again, this is the same sort of thing. I want to show you guys how to do it. I remember as well, I documented back in 2021, before it got popular to do these like stupid challenges. I did like a chocolate challenge where I ate like a big bar of chocolate, or like one of those share bags of chocolate, like, you know, the Whisper bites, or the what else have you got, like the Oreo bites as well you get. I ate like a whole bag of one of those, or like a big bar of chocolate, like a big dairy milk. It was like 500-600 calories of chocolate I ate every single day throughout the month of February in 2021. And the reason behind that challenge was to show you that you can still eat those things and drop body fat. I took it to the extreme. Like I said, eating a lot of it in that period of time. I think I dropped like 3 pounds in the month, just to prove that you can still eat what you want and get in shape. So I remember I did that one. That was, like I said, before it was cool to do those sorts of challenges. I've seen many people do it now, and I kind of wish I did it now that I'm more active, if you like, on Instagram and social media. I could have documented it a lot better now compared to then. I don't think I'm going to do that challenge again, so don't encourage me to do that challenge again, because it wasn't actually that fun. I got very bored of chocolate come the end of it. But yeah, I remember doing that challenge, and again, it's just having that accountability of doing it and holding yourself accountable, whether that is posting on Instagram, whether it's setting up a fitness page, whether it's just telling your mate, whether it's telling your mum, your dad, family, whoever it is. Having some accountability is going to make it much easier for you to stick to the plan, because you know that you need to turn up, because you're being held accountable. So that's really, really important. Like I said, I've spoke a little bit about why I'm doing this. I've never really been a great runner, a great long distance runner. I don't know if you can count 5K as long distance. I don't know what constitutes long distance, but for me, it's long distance. Like I said, anything over 100 is long distance for me. So anything over 100 meters is never really been my area, if you like. But the reason why I want to do this challenge is because we can all get better at it, right? Genetically, we might not be gifted at certain things, but doesn't mean that you can't improve, doesn't mean that you can't get better. And I'd say being able to do a 5K in less than 21 and a half minutes is pretty good going. And for someone that I would say is not a runner, quotes, that's pretty good. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm behind him doing it. Now I'm going to obviously track some things as well. I'm going to track my resting heart rate is one thing that I'm going to track, because hopefully that should come down over time, and that would just be a good gauge to see that I'm getting fitter. Obviously, my heart will be getting more efficient, so it won't need to beat as quickly at rest. So hopefully my resting heart rate should be coming down, as that will be a good indicator to see whether or not I'm making progress. Also going to track other things. I am going to track my weight. I'm not looking to lose weight, not looking to gain weight. I'm just going to track it to just see where it's at. Hopefully it should sort of maintain a little bit. Sleep, all of that sort of stuff I'm going to track as well, because again, recovery is so important. To manage your recovery, manage your stress, manage your workload is so important. And when you start to notice maybe things going wrong, maybe you're starting to feel more sore, maybe you start to get more tired, more fatigued, being aware of how good your sleep is, how good your recovery is, your nutrition, is a good thing to be aware of, because if those things aren't in a good place, then that gives you a good area to work on. If they are in a good place and you're feeling fatigued and tired, then it might just be that you're not overtraining, but you just need to pull back a little bit on the volume of training that you're doing. You may just not be recovering well enough from that training. So again, it's important to do these. That's when you can take breaks from training in terms of like deloads, reducing the intensity and stuff. And I've structured in some deloads, but again, I've structured it for the next 16 weeks. I've structured a plan for the next 16 weeks, but again, things are gonna be up for change depending on what happens. But having a plan is so key, because being able to see where you're going, being able to see where you're meant to be at certain stages is going to be really helpful to see whether or not you're on track, whether you need to adjust things. But also, as well as that, is just having a plan gives you that opportunity to adjust as well. Because if you don't have a plan, then you don't really know what to change. If something comes up, then you go, ah, well, fuck it. And that's so easily done. If you don't have a plan, if you don't have a routine, if you don't have a structure, then that's easily done if that's not the case. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. That's again a little bit longer than maybe I was expecting to go on for, but yeah, I hope that sort of makes sense in terms of understanding why I'm training in the way that I'm training, why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like I said, the focus is to do a new PB 5K time. So it's important that I'm obviously progressing things, making sure that I stay strong, making sure that I'm able to recover, all of that sort of stuff. So follow along if you wish. I'm going to be posting it a lot on my stories. So follow me on Instagram at Lewis Graham Coaching. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. I'm going to be getting a few guests on the podcast very soon. So if you know of anyone that would be a good guest, if you want to come on, then let me know. If you enjoyed the podcast, please leave it a review. A written review would be very helpful. That would help grow the podcast, get it to more people and help more people. But as I said, thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.